Back in May, I looked at this enormous pile of annuals and thought, yep, that's reasonable. Now we're at the end of August, so it's time to see how all of those plants actually worked out. Some of these containers look even better than I expected. Some plants surprised me, and at least one experiment failed. So completely that weeds took over its job. So let's see what worked, what didn't, and what I'd absolutely plant again. Let's start here at the front door. I cheated a little with these baskets because I bought very large plants. They looked full almost immediately, and I really loved this combination in the spring. They've actually held up really well. Not sure about the euphorbia. It has this pink-brown coloring, and from a distance in August, it looks really dry, even though it isn't. But the Swiss chard, I cannot believe it's still going. It's gotten tall, and it's giving this whole thing some structure, and probably my favorite part of the container right now. These were a different experiment because the boxwoods aren't meant to be temporary. I want something permanent here to help ground the cut flower garden and give me some structure through winter. Then I could just change the annuals that are circling the boxwood. I really like them. The boxwoods have given the container some weight, and the annuals I really enjoyed, and wondering if I can't bring them inside and overwinter them. These containers had a very specific job in spring. Bring some color here while I wait for the perennials to fill it. And now the perennials have done exactly that. So this container has done its job, and now it gets a new one. I'm moving it over to a spot right here that could use a little bit more color and weight. One of the best things about containers is when the garden changes, they can change with it. This one is an absolute experiment. I had an extra Dara. I love the plant, but I've never tried to grow it in a container. Dara gets pretty big, so I figured one of two things is going to happen. It would love its life here and completely take over the container, or hate it and completely fizzle out. Option B happened. It did so poorly that the weeds volunteered to take its place. So lesson learned, I still love Dara, but I will not be growing it in a container again. This little container had me pretty worried when I planted it. It's sitting here on the bistro set. It's small, it's exposed, and I didn't really believe that I was going to water it regularly. But it's done surprisingly well, and I've absolutely loved it here. It's not blooming like it should be right now, but that's mostly my fault. I stopped fertilizing when we had the big heat wave, and then it went straight into rain, so it's been quite a while. I'm finally getting back to fertilizing my annuals, and I'm hoping it's enough to get another good flush of blooms before the end of the season. These double impatiens were actually a birthday present. I'd never grown them before, and I loved having these three colors together. One of them has gotten a bit scorched, so I've implemented a very sophisticated gardening technique. Just spin it around. More water should help it rebound, and I don't want to look at it while it does. Then there's these. I grew these marigolds from seed, and these little pots on the hill would make this cute little fairy garden moment. There are still pots under here, probably. The marigolds became enormous, completely swallowed the whole setup. I do love it. I will absolutely grow these marigolds again. I just won't plant them here. This little guy, though, I love. And yes, he waves to the mailman every day. The backyard containers have a completely different job. You have to be more creative. There just aren't that many plants that are going to bloom continuously in this much shade all summer. This blue container started the season with blooming calla lilies that I loved. The flowers are long gone, but look at this foliage now. It's thick, tall, glossy, and I think it's every bit as beautiful as when it was blooming. Then there's the coleus. I have rather high expectations of my coleus, but that's because it always delivers. Technically, raised beds are just a really big container, so I'm counting them for this video. This looked like basically nothing in May, and now completely different phase of the garden. The cool season bed is rebounding with its second succession. The summer bed is almost at peak with the zinnias. And over in the lily garlic bed, tomatoes are doing great, and I've seeded annuals that'll take us into fall. While my backyard is not a container, I can't leave the impatiens out. They are just stunners. When I planted, you could barely see them because I had to do a Chelsea chop on every single one of them. But now look at them. This is exactly what I need in this bed. Months of color in a spot where I don't have lots of flowering options. Changing the colors every year keeps it interesting, but it is a staple in my yard. Overall, I think that the annual planting experiment was a success. There's definitely things that I'll change next year. Dara has been fired from being a container plant. Those marigolds need a whole lot more personal space. And apparently my solution to sun scorch is to just hide it. But I've also found some things that are absolutely worth repeating. The boxwoods are staying. Swiss chard needs more applications. Coleus is coleus, and definitely more impatiens. Probably a fun new color or mixing new colors in there instead of just having one. And honestly, I do think that that's half the fun of planting all of this in May. You think you know what's going to happen. And the garden usually has other plans. Thanks so much for joining, and look forward to seeing you again.